guys? Flat Earth Asshole. Back again for round 3 against Joe Rogan and Mick West. Now, since last time, we have had a few developments happen. Mr. Mick West has went on Twitter and has started calling Jenna Fredo's rock solid proof of a flat earth. He's been calling her proof of flat earth a mirage.
You can basically see a distorted superior mirage on top of the Rogers Center. Depends on the air conditions, normally hidden. Derp!
Yeah, nice try, Mick West, but I didn't see the Rogers Center flipped upside down on top of itself. Here is an example of a superior mirage. Notice the image is inverted, and you can see space between the two images. I didn't see the Rogers Center flipped upside down on top of itself with space in between. It definitely didn't look like that at all. And even Jenna called you out on that. Is that a mirage of a mirage, Mick? Or is it a mirage of a mirage of a mirage?
Yeah, that's right. Chicken shit. Mick West says Jenna Fredo's video proof of the Rogers Center in Toronto, across Lake Ontario, from New York at 30 miles away. He's saying it's a mirage. Yeah, guess what? She beat your website. No, excuse me. She destroyed your website and beat your numbers and your calculations by 100 feet. Even with refraction, she beat your website. So your chicken shit ass has only one option, and it's the mirage option. Yeah, that's the final answer from someone who has no answers. Huh, what am I seeing? It's proof of a flat earth, but my cognitive dissonance won't allow me to admit it, so I'm gonna say it's a mirage. Yeah. He goes on to say, you know, like water on the street, it looks like there's water way down the street. Yeah, that's what a mirage usually looks like. Haven't yet seen a big, huge white building that resembles the Rogers Center in any mirage I've ever seen. I've seen the real one in Jenna's video from 30 miles away, and she's repeated her experiment, and I trust her. Whole lot more than I would trust a guy whose life is dedicated to saying that the poison they spray you with, the chemtrails, yeah, his job is to tell you those are just contrails and clouds. So of course, I would trust Jenna Fredo 1,000 times out of 1,000 before I would trust Mick West. And another development, Eddie Bravo has seen my video and shared it on Instagram. So, one good thing about doing this series in parts is it gives a chance for things to happen and pop off. I don't just kick him in the balls in one shot and walk away. I kick him in the balls and waited. And Eddie Bravo saw the video and posted it. I kicked him in the balls in round 2 again and waited. And then Mick West started calling out Jenna on Twitter and saying that her proof is a mirage. So Eddie Bravo saw my video. Mick West saw my videos. So chances are this dipshit right here saw the video too. In fact, Joe, I know you saw the videos. You saw both of them. And you're gonna watch this one too. Because if your buddy Eddie shared it, and your buddy Mick has to talk about the evidence I presented, well then that means you know you're watching. So, without further ado, let's get cracking with round 3, shall we? Bing,
bing! With a lot of what's going on with these people theorizing about flat Earth, and there seems to be some desire that people have to expose hidden truths, hidden discoveries, or things that are somehow or another being kept from everybody. And what's fascinating to me is they're looking into this nonsense. They're looking into this thing that's not real. When the real space, like the actual, like what is observable about space is so mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And somehow or another, that is what you absolutely can see every day, what you absolutely can observe, what you absolutely can read about and learn about, and what scientists are discovering on a daily basis is so mind-blowing. When you see, like, they don't believe satellites are real. When you see how many satellites we actually have, that's what's really fucked. It's not that there's no satellites.
There's too many satellites.
There's way too many.
They're going to start bashing into each other, and then we'll have no more satellites.
There's thousands of them up there, and they have to time, like, space flights. They have to time space flights based on whether or not they're going to hit these satellites, or space junk, or some of the stuff that's been ejected from various rocket trips. I mean, it's still floating up there.
You see the movie Gravity?
Yes.
Yeah, there's like a bit in that where the satellites start bumping into each other, and it's this big chain reaction. And eventually all the satellites get knocked out.
Did you see that, Jack?
Did you see the movie Gravity? Where, like, there's a chain reactions and all the satellites start taking each other out?
The movie? Did I see a movie about this happening? Yeah, I saw that indoctrination piece. You know why they make so many space movies? It's to indoctrinate you into thinking that that stuff's really happening out there. Yeah, they feed you all this space movies in Hollywood. It's because Hollywood and the government are in bed. So of course they indoctrinate you with all these space movies.
Have you ever seen Gravity?
Yeah, I've seen it. What about reality? Have you ever seen reality? Because in reality, none of us have actually seen satellites. People think they see them, but they see a dot go by in the sky. They think that's a satellite. Nobody's ever seen one of these things flying around, right? But they're so sure they exist, right? In fact, let's just see if we can see any satellites like going by the moon, right? I mean, let's see. If we were to go and do a search on YouTube for the P900 moon, right? So I already searched this. So there they are. So we go P900, and there's all these moon videos where people are taking the most powerful zoom camera in the world and zooming in on the moon. Now, there are flat earthers who do this, and then there are regular just round earth people who aren't into flat earth at all. They own this camera and they just like zooming in on the moon. So there's hours and hours of footage here, tons of different moon videos to look at over and over again. Now, I dare you to try to find a satellite going by. And remember, Joe says there's too many. There's too many. There's so many satellites. So when we zoom in on the moon, how come we never see any satellites go by? There's so many. There's too many. We have to do complicated math and dodge the satellites when we take off, right, Joe? But when we zoom in on the moon and look at the moon with telescopes, binoculars, whatever, not one single satellite ever goes by, ever. No silhouettes of satellites ever going by on any moon video. Take a close look. Any moon zoom video you want, where are the satellites? They should be going by every second because there's so many of them. There's too many. You won't find any. Not just this video. Put on any P900 moon video. There's hours and hours and hours of footage. So much footage. And it's not just by flat earthers. Tons of people own this camera and zoom in on the moon. Nice pictures of the moon. No satellites. No satellites. And do you really think this is 238,000 miles away and you can zoom in that close? It's obvious that this celestial body is not 238,000 miles away. If you can zoom in that close! And if we can zoom in that close with a P900, why don't you take these satellites that you claim exist, flip them around and zoom in on the American flag. Zoom in right on the American flag, zoom in on what's left over of the base of the lunar module and the astronauts' footprints. Don't give me that grainy bullshit. Show me a zoomed in one. Because if we can get this close with the P900, well, those satellites that should be going by
should be getting better pictures. But you won't see any satellites in any of these videos because satellites don't exist.
A Japanese expedition that they tried to do, they tried to capture space junk.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Yeah, I don't know how well it worked. They were like had a big tether that they were dragging behind it.
Yeah, they were trying to like catch a bunch of space junk with a net, right?
Yeah.
Somehow or another.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, this stuff is way more interesting than.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the real stuff. That's really
the
crazy.
flat Earth idea is so it's like this tiny little thing. Oh, the Earth is flat, and we're stuck in this weird prison where people are keeping us here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing too. That somehow or another, by being on a flat planet, it gives you a different perspective, and they don't want you to have that perspective, so they tell you the world is round. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you know what doesn't make any sense? Those statements that you guys just made. Mick's like, it's like the flat earth is this tiny little thing and you're stuck in a prison. No, the ball is the prison, you idiot. The ball is the prison. Nowhere to go. You are stuck in the ball prison. The picture, the images, yeah, that's the barn. That's the barbed wire fence. That's them telling you there's only this much real estate, only this much land. It's a ball. You'll always come back to where you started. We've already discovered everything. There's nothing more to find. Yeah, that's the prison. That's the barn they're keeping you in, is the ball. Because there may be more land out there to be discovered. You might actually run into a physical barrier maybe if you went to a certain point. Or there might just be infinite land and infinite ocean. We don't know. Well, how can land be infinite? How can space be infinite? Where's the edge of your space? Oh, well, space doesn't have to have an end. Space can be infinite, but not land. Yeah. You guys get to make up the rules, right? Well, what's the point of a flat planet? It's not a flat planet, numbnuts. Flat plane. It's always been a flat plane, and then they came along and added a T and called it a ball, a planet. So it's not a flat planet, Joe. I think you know that. No flat earther says that the Earth is a flat planet floating in space. But they always try to throw that on us like that's what we think it is. No flat earthers think that the Earth is a flat planet floating in space. There is no space to float in. It's flat, immovable, not moving around in space. The stars and the planets, sun and moon, they move around, we don't. So this whole flat planet motion is bullshit. Mick West says they think that we're stuck in some little prison thing. Yeah, the ball's the prison. Yeah, they don't want you to get out of the prison. That's why they came up with this whole ball scenario, to barn you in. They don't want people finding out that there's a whole nother continent to go explore. They don't want people finding out, yeah, we're hiding your God from you. How many times do I have to explain this over and over?
Yeah, one thing I've heard is that they think that if they can convince you that the world is flat when it isn't, then it's kind of like in 1984, where they get people to believe that 2 + 2 = 5. And they've actually indoctrinate people to genuinely believe that, even though they know it's not true, but they still believe it, and it's a way of mind control. So the same thing would happen with the flat earth, but on a far grander scale. You're not just convincing someone that 2 + 2 = 5, and war equals peace, etc., etc. You're convincing them that the earth is flat when it's actually round.
Now, this is the opposite of what happened. Everybody knew it was flat, and then they had to convince everybody it was round. And everyone was like, no, that goes against my senses. I don't see any curvature, and I don't feel it moving. So it was a tough battle to convince people that it actually was a ball. It took a long fucking time. They had to get it implemented into school curriculum so they could indoctrinate little children. And they force you to go to school. In a lot of countries, such as this one, the United States, you're forced to go to school. They'll pretty much take you to jail if you don't put your kid in school. You can do homeschooling, but they want to see the curriculum. And they want to make sure you're teaching the right curriculum now. They won't just let you do it all willy-nilly anymore. So why would they forcibly
want to indoctrinate your kid and forcibly teach them this ball belief. That's because when you're 5 years old, you don't have the mental capability to debunk the globe. You can't convince an adult who's known it was flat his or her whole life. You could never convince an adult who knows it's flat that it's a ball spinning in space. You can trick a child though, and that's when they turn the tide. That's the day it all changed. Start convincing children it's a ball. Those children grow up to be adults thinking it's a ball, and they continue to teach the belief themselves. And thus, the spinning ball religion was born. Because that's what it is. It's a religion. You have to blindly believe in evidence presented by the government. Evidence you can't ever provide yourself. You'll never get to go to space and see the Earth as a ball. Only government agents get to go to space and see the Earth as a ball.
So by twisting their minds around something that's demonstrably false and making them think that it's correct, then you're gaining power over their minds in the same way that they did in 1984.
Right, well, in the same way that Scientologists do, or Mormons do, or anybody that creates some sort of an ideology that's provably false. I mean, look, there's not a whole lot of difference between Scientology and flat earth theory. I mean, there really isn't. I mean, if you really read L. Ron Hubbard's work, if you read what his actual theories were about the origins of mankind, it's pretty fucking loony. And yet there's thousands and thousands of members of Scientology to the point where, you know, they're making documentaries about it and writing books about it, and these people are coming out and they've escaped the church and these harrowing stories. I mean, I had this guy on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, Ron Miscavige, David Miscavige's dad. It's like, what in the fuck? This guy's wasted his life. Guy lived in the Scientology world for 50 years. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It is.
Alright, so right now you can see they're trying to make the comparison between Scientology and the flat earth, right? Because they're totally the same thing. Wrong. Nobody's ditching their public school education because Scientology proved it to be wrong. Flat earth proves our public education was bullshit. That's why people ditch it. I didn't go to flat earth school. I wasn't raised by flat earth parents. This is only something I found out about for about 2 years now. A little over 2 years, actually. So, this isn't something I was born into. I went to public school. I went to a 4-year university, graduated. I had to pass all their tests, and I totally believed in the ball spinning around, all those planets out there in the infinite space vacuum. Totally bought it, hook, line, and sinker my whole life. I ditched that belief because I found out it was wrong. I can run tests to find out that there's no verifiable curvature on the Earth. We can do experiments, and we have done so, that prove curvature doesn't exist. These experiments are observable, repeatable, and verifiable, and easy to demonstrate. Anyone can pretty much go do them. So, we can prove that the ball Earth isn't correct. It's a lot different than Scientology. So comparing Scientology with flat Earth is like comparing apples to Scientology. You have to be a fucking lunatic to be a Scientologist, okay? Lots of people are ditching the ball every day. Flat Earth is growing and trending every day for a reason. It's because people are discovering it's the truth. So trying to compare it to something that's obvious bullshit that everyone laughs at, nobody jumps on board with, yeah, nice try. Scientology is a lot closer to the spinning ball Earth than it is the flat Earth.
I believed in a bunch of stupid shit. And the big one for me that I've clung to longest is Bigfoot. that one, man, oh, it's so hard for me to let that one go. Because, well, first of all, because it used to be an animal. It used to be Gigantopithecus. But, man, when my friend Les Stroud actually started doing that show, that Bigfoot show, have you ever seen that show?
I don't think so.
I did that show with some fucking guy who's just a total hoaxer. And the guy put on a Bigfoot mask. And
Okay, so right here, people might not notice, but this is a very slick move Joe is putting on right here. Joe is admitting, purposely admitting, I don't even know if he's telling the truth on this. I used to believe in Bigfoot. Man, I used to believe in stupid shit like Bigfoot. Because then he can also acquaint that with, you know, and not going to the moon. I used to believe in stupid shit like Bigfoot, you know, and that we didn't go to the moon and 9/11 and crazy stuff like that. But then I found out, you know, I was dumb, you know, just like Bigfoot. So I don't fall for stuff anymore. Yeah, nice try, Joe, trying to equate Bigfoot with the flat earth. So first they say flat earth is like Scientology. Oh yeah, I fell for some dumb stuff like that before, like Bigfoot. Nice try, guys. Yeah, it kind of takes away from that time you fell for the old fake moon landing, huh? Yeah.
They're not doing so good. It's hard out there for a pool player right now.
The guys at the top of the game, isn't there?
I think those guys just watch too many fucking YouTube videos and they don't have any science. Most of the pool players, one of the things about, what's that common expression about pool players? If someone plays pool really well, it's the glorious results of a misspent youth. Because it takes a long time to learn how to play pool really well, and you're not going to be doing that while you're, you know, got your nose buried in physics books.
I think, like...
Whoa. Oh, these pool player guys, they're watching dumb YouTube videos. Huh, you know, they just don't know anything about physics and they don't have any science.
Where do you know about science and physics? You're a shitty stand-up comedian, Joe. A shitty stand-up comedian and color commentary for an organization where men roll around on the ground on top of each other. And you're a source of scientific information? Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, we're going to listen to you, Joe. You're a source of scientific information, but definitely don't listen to any pool players. You know, come to think of it, Joe, a pool player actually holds a stick, hits a ball into another ball to make that ball go into a hole or pocket. You actually have to perform precise calculations and physics in your brain. You don't even have to be a professional pool player to know what I'm talking about. On the fly, as you walk around the table and analyze what shot you're going to take, you have to line up the right angle. You have to hit the ball just enough, with enough speed to where the ball's going to make it to the hole. You know, you have to maybe try to set up your next shot, add some spin to it. There's a lot of things that go on. I'm definitely not a good pool player, but I do know that it takes a lot of angles and physics, a lot of mechanics that you have to figure out on the fly to be a good pool player. You have to be able to see the future and envision how the balls are going to smack into each other and roll across the table. That requires a lot of physics going on up here, real physics. Joe doesn't know shit about that. He thinks that we all just watch YouTube videos and we don't know nothing. No, people are actually going out and doing experiments. We videotape these experiments and then we put them on YouTube. Just because it's on YouTube doesn't mean it's invalid. NASA has videos on YouTube. So does that mean those NASA videos are not valid? I can take a video of my grandma and it's a real video of my grandma. But I guess if I put it on YouTube, it's no longer my grandma. You can't trust that that's a real video of my grandma because it's on YouTube, right? So I guess everything is valid until it's uploaded to YouTube. The minute uploading is complete on YouTube, no longer valid, according to Joe.
People like things like the flat earth, they get things out of them. They're getting something out of it. It's giving them purpose in their life. It's like, you know, it's kind of like a hobby in a way, like you're just doing something because you enjoy doing it, like playing chess.
Yeah.
Except along with that hobby of doing stuff, they actually have a belief that is required for them to actually do their hobby. And they don't, you know, obviously think of it like that, but that's essentially what it is. They have this...
Flat Earth is not a hobby for me. It has absolutely changed my life, 100%. I feel like it's more of a mission to pick up the sword of truth and wave it back at the enemy
And as I hold the sword of truth and I look the enemy in their eyes, I say, not on my watch, not while I'm alive. I'm going to do my part while I'm alive to expose the whole world to the fact that not only is NASA full of shit, not only is the American government full of shit, but all governments are full of shit, working together. I'm going to go out of my way to wake up as many people as I can. It's not a hobby. It's not a belief. It's a mission. Something I was put here to do. Something I do very well. And you know what? If I change one person's mind, I've done my job. And I've changed a whole lot more than one person's mind. I'm not going anywhere. Cha-ching! And I've got the sword of truth in my hands. And I get off on waving it at the enemy. It's not a hobby. It's an obsession. And I'm going to put this sword of truth to your throat, Mick. And decapitate your lying fucking skull.
If you work all day and you have an 8-hour day plus commute plus family plus whatever bills and issues that you have to deal with, and then you get into one of these YouTube videos, you simply don't have the time to really explore all of the possibilities and all the science behind all of the arguments, and it's just...
Yeah, I think what happens is either they get this superficial understanding of the conspiracy theory, or the actual real life suffers.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people get sucked into conspiracy theories like chemtrails or 9/11 truth, and they become socially isolated.
Yes.
And they get divorced and they lose custody of their children.
It happens all the time. Yeah.
What? Oh, did you hear what he just said?
These conspiracy theorists, they get into chemtrails and 9/11 truth, and they get really depressed and they get divorced and they lose custody of their kids.
What the fuck are you talking about, dude? This guy is saying there are no conspiracies, and if you become a conspiracy theorist, you get depressed, divorced, and lose custody of your children. He just said 9/11 truth it's all just a conspiracy theory. Oh my gosh. So you guys know that not only does Mick protect chemtrails, not only does he protect the round earth from the flat earth, he's also a 9/11 denier, right? Like denies that there was an inside job in 9/11. So all conspiracies are just theories according to Mick. I can't stand people who think that there are no real conspiracies. These have got to be some of the most thick retards that ever existed on the flat plane. I don't believe in any conspiracies. Those are all just theories. Yeah? All of them? Why did they invent a word called conspiracy if it's not a real thing? Conspiracy. When a group of people get together and conspire to do something evil, right? It's not a real thing. They invented the word, but it's not real. They only came up with conspiracy because of all the theorists. But there is no such thing as conspiracies according to Mick West. I'd love to meet Mick West, and right after I kick him in the balls, say, name one conspiracy you actually do believe in. Just to hear him be like, there are no conspiracies. Conspiracy isn't a word. Yeah, I guess conspiracy, it's a conspiracy that conspiracy was invented. They invented a word just so they can put theorist after it, because no one ever got together and ever conspired against anyone ever.
Well, the space station, the International Space Station, it flies over at regular intervals. And this is one of the ground truth things that I was talking about earlier.
You can see it.
You can look up when it's going to fly over. You can get them to send you alerts. There's a site called Spot the Station. It's a NASA site. But you don't have to trust it. But you can still sign up, and it will tell you when the space station is going to fly over. To the second. It'll tell you to the second when it's going to appear, and how high it will be, and how long it will be visible for. And you can get it to send you an email, and then get your camera out and take photographs of it.
there's this NASA website. You'd have to trust it. Yeah, NASA? You mean the same guys who lied about going to the moon? Oh yeah, let's definitely go there and learn all about the International Space Station. Yeah, okay, so we have to trust those guys, the government agency who lied to us about the moon? Okay, you have to, just saying this alone, you have to trust the government. It's a government-run website, so when you go there and you find this information I'm telling you to go look up, you have to trust the government. So as long as you trust the government, just go right to that place, look at that website, and it'll tell you all about the International Space Station. You know, you might be able to see something flying in the sky. That doesn't mean it's in outer space. Doesn't even necessarily mean it's really there. They have all sorts of weird technology out there. Operation Bluebeam, holographic technology. I mean, I can't say for sure that what they're shining up there is there or not, or what type of, if it's actually something flying over us, or if it's just some sort of hologram technology. I know that sounds wacky, but here's my thing. I've proven to my audience and to my own satisfaction, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that Scott Kelly is a liar, and while he said he was on the International Space Station, he was always doing interviews in a harness, and his shoulders look like this, and he'd be floating, like, look at me, I'm Scott Kelly in space, my bald asshole floating in space, look at me. And he would do interviews on like the Colbert Show with these things like this, and he'd be like this the whole interview, be like, yeah, yep, I'm up here in the space station, yep, it's pretty cool. Yeah, and he's got like the weirdest body language, and then at the end of every single interview, he does this patented backflip. Yeah, I've already exposed this to my fan base several times. Scott Kelly's full of shit. He wasn't on the International Space Station. You can clearly see he's wearing a harness and in front of a green screen. Anybody who understands how Hollywood trickery works will see right through it. It's obvious as hell. If you cling to the ball, you have to be like, oh, it only looks like a harness because he's muscular. It's clear he's wearing a harness in front of a green screen, right? So why would they have to lie about Scott Kelly being on the International Space Station if it was real? If it was really up there and he was in it, they wouldn't have to lie and put him in a harness in front of a green screen. All their footage would look legit. So if they're lying about the person inside the International Space Station, then I'm going to go ahead and think that the whole International Space Station is bunk as well. Because it's obvious Scott Kelly is not up there, never was. He was in a harness in front of a green screen. But I'm supposed to trust that there's an ISS up there? Even though everything in my body says Hollywood trickery, Scott Kelly's a liar. No, thank you. If it was real, it would all flow. I would look and see realistic men floating in there without any problem. They wouldn't look like they're wearing a harness. He would be able to do side flips and bounce off the walls and move all around the cabin, but he doesn't. He just stays there suspended during the whole interview. I'm Scott Kelly. I'm in space. Yeah. Once I saw Scott Kelly in a harness, the jig was up on the ISS and spacemen. rock solid proof of a flat earth. He's been calling her proof of flat earth a mirage.
You can basically see a distorted superior mirage on top of the Rogers Center. Depends on the air conditions. Normally hidden. Derp.
Yeah, nice try, Mick West, but I didn't see the Rogers Center flipped upside down on top of itself. Here is an example of a superior mirage. Notice the image is inverted, and you can see space between the two images. I didn't see the Rogers Center flipped upside down on top of itself with space in between. It definitely didn't look like that at all. And even Jenna called you out.
Whose life is dedicated to saying that the poison they spray you with, the chemtrails, his job is to tell you those are just contrails and clouds. So of course, I would trust Jenna Fredo 1,000 times out of 1,000 before I would trust Mick West. And another development, Eddie Bravo has seen my video and shared it on Instagram. So, one good thing about doing this series in parts is it gives a chance for things to happen and pop off. I don't just kick them in the balls in one shot and walk away. I kick them in the balls and waited, and Eddie Bravo saw the video and posted it. I kicked him in the balls in round 2 again and waited, and then
out on that. Is that a mirage of a mirage, Mick? Or is it a mirage of a mirage of a mirage?
Yeah, that's right. Chicken shit. Mick West says Jenna Fredo's video proof of the Rogers Center in Toronto, across Lake Ontario from New York at 30 miles away. He's saying it's a mirage. Yeah, guess what? She beat your website. No, excuse me. She destroyed your website and beat your numbers in your calculations by 100 feet. Even with refraction, she beat your website. So your chicken shit ass has only one option, and it's the What's up, guys? Flat Earth Asshole. Back again for round 3 against Joe Rogan and Mick West. Now, since last time, we have had a few developments happen. Mr. Mick West has went on Twitter and has started calling Jenna Fredo mirage option. Yeah, that's the final answer from someone who has no answers. Huh? What am I seeing? It's proof of a flat earth. But my cognitive dissonance won't allow me to admit it, so I'm gonna say it's a mirage. Yeah. He goes on to say, you know, like water on the street, it looks like there's water way down the street. Yeah, that's what a mirage usually looks like. Haven't yet seen a big, huge white building that resembles the Rogers Center in any mirage I've ever seen. I've seen the real one in Jenna's video from 30 miles away, and she's repeated her experiment, and I trust her. Whole lot more than I would trust a guy